say we were in Milwaukee for the RNC last month, which had much more of a kind of somber feel coming as it did directly after the assassination attempt on Trump's life. And it had a bit more of a kind of rallying feel. The Republicans were very triumphant. And yeah, in comparison, this has been strangely relaxed. And yeah, it has almost had a kind of sporting event sort of feel to it.
Barack and Michelle Obama both addressing the Democratic National Convention in a couple of hours' time. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's catch up with some of the other talking points from Chicago, where Anthony Blair joins us now, senior reporter at the US Sun. Anthony, hello, good evening. Just set the scene. How is the mood in Chicago day two from your perspective, Anthony?
Yeah, good evening. It's been remarkably upbeat. I would say it's almost felt a little bit like a sporting event and not a political event. We've seen sort of huge crowds, lots of people wearing this kind of like unofficial merchandise of Dr. Wolf and Kamala Harris. Obviously, the excitement's building here just behind me. About just under half an hour's time, the events are going to get going in Chicago. And I would say we were in Milwaukee for the RNC last month, which had much more of a kind of somber feel coming as it did directly after the assassination attempt on Trump's life. And it had a bit more of a kind of rallying feel. The Republicans were very triumphant. And yeah, in comparison, this has been strangely relaxed. And yeah, it has almost had a kind of sporting event sort of feel to it.
Your line isn't brilliant, Anthony. We're just going to persevere with it just for a moment. Can we just consider something else that's developed as well as all that sort of good feeling? A spat between the two vice presidential picks as well in the last 24 hours. What's this?
That's right. Well, I mean, Tim Walz and J.D. Vance have kind of got into increasingly kind of personal attacks on each other. It's regarding sort of Vance's criticisms of his war record, and then it's kind of escalated into these sort of back and forth over IVF treatment and things like that. So we've been kind of talking about a lot of people here, and a lot of Democrats have this kind of sense of Wolf is like almost America's dad. Like it's almost been a kind of portrayal of two different visions of how they see America going forward. And J.D. Vance is very much the kind of MAGA figure. He's beloved by sort of MAGA Republicans. Tim Walz, I guess Democrats are hoping, will be more of a kind of conciliatory figure who will reach across the aisle and maybe convince some of these sort of floating voters in the key swing states in America that they should switch to the Democrats. All these kind of videos have come out, him talking about his favorite taco toppings, him talking about sharing these videos on how he repairs cars. There is this sense that he's being portrayed as America's dad, kind of friendly figure to maybe contrast with the sort of MAGA Republicans.
Okay. Very interesting to see that distinction develop, isn't it? Anthony, we'll leave it there. Your line isn't brilliant, so we'll leave it there for now, I think. Anthony Blair, who is in Chicago for us, just a lot of noise, I think, frankly, at Chicago. That's what happens when you're at a convention, I guess. Well, the event held in Chicago tonight has a star turn. One of Chicago's favourite sons, at least from a Democrat point of view. It's 20 years after his very first address at his party's convention.
America, tonight, if you feel the same energy that I do, if you feel the same urgency that I do, if you feel the same passion that I do, if you feel the same hopefulness that I do, if we do what we must do, then I have no doubt that all across the country, from Florida to Oregon, from Washington to Maine, the people will rise up in November, and John Kerry will be sworn in as president, and John Edwards will be sworn in as vice president, and this country will reclaim its promise, and out of this long political darkness, a brighter day will come. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you.
How about that? Spoiler alert, John Kerry didn't become president, did he? That was in 2004. In support of that presidential campaign, his first appearance at the convention. 2 decades later, after 8 years of his own presidency, Barack Obama still seemed to cast a spell, or maybe a shadow in some respects, over the spirit and the soul of the Democrats. Let's discuss that with Julia Manchester, who is political reporter for The Hill, who's at the convention in Chicago. Julia, hello, good evening.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for having me.
A real pleasure. And Karen Robinson, who is former UK Vice Chair of Democrats Abroad. Karen, hello, good evening.
Hello there.
Julia, just take us to Chicago from your point of view. How is it?
It is very energetic. I think a lot of people that I've spoken to, Democrats in particular, have compared this convention to the 2008 convention, and that was the convention where Barack Obama became the Democratic nominee for president. There is this feeling of joyfulness, of hope, of energy. And I think last night it was certainly a feeling of nostalgia, a bit, maybe a bittersweet feeling with President Biden passing the torch to Kamala Harris. But in general, I think there's a lot of excitement to see Barack and Michelle Obama address the convention tonight. They are arguably the two most popular Democrats in the party. So it certainly will be two speeches to watch.
In particular, Michelle Obama. I mean, she is hugely popular. I was quite shocked earlier looking at some of the numbers. Sixth most popular public figure in the US, according to YouGov, behind the Queen, Martin Luther King, a couple of others, Arnold Schwarzenegger, strangely. But she is massively, massively popular, isn't she? And so is he in lots of respects, Julia. What kind of role do they play? Not just in Democrats, obviously the Democrats love them, but in American life. How influential are they in America?
They're very influential. I mean, after they left the presidency, or Barack Obama, his two terms were up in 2017, and the beginning of that year, we saw them do a lot of philanthropy work. And they also have, for example, their own production company. They do a lot of public speaking. They're involved in quite a bit of media. You still have, for example, past foreign leaders and current foreign leaders reaching out to Barack Obama for advice, and counsel, if you will. So he is very much seen as an influential figure. But from an American perspective, I think they are seen as unifying in many ways. Even though Barack Obama might, come from one part of the political spectrum, he did have a very unifying coalition, a galvanized coalition in 2008 and to an extent in 2012, made up of many people on the political spectrum. Mostly left-leaners and moderates, but still he was able to bring together a very diverse coalition among Americans.
Right, that's interesting. Karen, you worked on Barack Obama's 2008 campaign. You were an organizer for that, weren't you, when he won the presidency? So you've obviously seen him at close quarters, you've seen him develop, you've seen his role in American politics. Is it not also true, as Barack Obama himself said, that if you watch Fox News, if you're plugged into MAGA, if you are the sort of person who is inclined to believe so, he is a bogeyman, Barack Obama, representative of everything that you hate?
Well, look, I mean, the bottom line is America is a polarized nation, but even within the polarized country that America has become since Barack Obama's election, he is still one of the figures who commands a lot of respect, even across the aisle. And so I am certainly looking forward to his speech tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing Michelle speak, who, as you said, is even more of a unifying figure. And I think they're both very aware of that of playing that role. It's one of the reasons why they're quite careful about their kind of post-presidential activities. They are, they try to see themselves as kind of uniters. It's one of the reasons why they often play a role in 2020, for example. Barack tried to play a role of kind of bringing the party together after the primary. I think he'll have that in mind as he comes into the speech tonight, because he really sees this as part of his legacy, right? He's still relatively young. He's kind of taken a step back from day-to-day political involvement, but he has very much will have his legacy in mind, and we'll see Kamala Harris's presidency as a fantastic endorsement of his career in life and movement forward. So this is a don't make any mistake. This is a unified Democratic Party. We are very excited to hear from the Obamas tonight.
Okay, it's also true, isn't it, Julia, that Michelle is hugely popular, probably actually arguably more popular than Barack Obama, and that she could have, if she wanted it, an extraordinarily successful political career.
Yeah, absolutely. And you constantly hear that floated, would Michelle Obama run for president? Would she run for public office? She, does not want that. She's made that clear to, people, those around her, and, has made it clear that she has no interest in, extending that political life in the way, that political life that she lived for 8 years when Barack Obama was president. That being said, though, she is seen as Democrats' secret weapon in many ways, if you will. Oftentimes during close contested, down ballot elections, like in the midterms, you'll sometimes see Michelle Obama come out. Obviously in 2020 and 2016, she campaigned for President Biden and Hillary Clinton. So she is seen as someone who, not only galvanizes and energizes Democrats, but also reaches to, other voters that are outside of that fold that might not be Republican or might not be pro-Trump, but they're sort of in the middle in that way. And she also plays a big role with women in particular, and bringing women over. I think women of all stripes see Michelle Obama as an influential and positive figure. So we know that women will play a deciding factor in this presidential election. So this is a key moment for her and appealing to that contingency.
That's interesting. Karen, I think I remember her not being particularly keen on Barack running first time round either, Michelle Obama. What is that? I mean, she doesn't like it, doesn't enjoy the rough and tumble? What's the story there?
Yeah, I think it's that she doesn't see herself as a politician. She doesn't like the fight. She likes, as I say, she likes to be a unifier. She sees herself as a mom. She sees herself as a community organizer and somebody who's been very active in her community, and she tries to bring people together. She's not a politician. She's never been a politician. It's one of the reasons why she is able to speak with the authenticity that people respond to so much in her, because she's never calculating about political advantage. She's always speaking from the heart about what her beliefs and values are, and people really respond to that. Right. And I think we'll see a lot of that energy tonight.
Okay. Karen, you are the former vice chair of the Democrats Abroad. Democrats Abroad, by the way, you are you're a state delegate in yourself, aren't you, the Democrats Abroad?
We are. We are a state delegation, so we send a delegation of people to the convention to vote for the party's nomination. We've got, I think, 22 delegates there at the convention holding votes from countries all around the world. And that's, just goes to show that the party has recognized that Americans overseas are an important part of our constituency. We vote in our home state, so we don't vote as Americans abroad. We vote in whatever state we come from. So we've got Democrats abroad voters from every swing state across America, and we often do make the difference in key states. So, getting out the vote from abroad is absolutely key to part of our election strategy.
Okay, often a part of the way that you think politically depends on what you view, how you view it, the sort of climate, the ecosystem in which you are existing, right? And we know that America is deeply polarized. You either watch CNN or Fox News, you're in your trenches, and that certainly shapes the way that people think about politics and vote in America. Do Democrats abroad think about it differently?
Well, I mean, obviously, Democrats abroad come with a different set of life experiences. We are more obviously considerably more likely than people back home to have spent time living abroad, to be experienced with other cultures. We also, and I can speak to this personally, we also have direct experience of the impact that American policy has on the lives of people living overseas, not just American citizens, but everyone. So I do think we play that really important role within kind of the party of giving that slightly more global worldview, but we also have some kind of core Democratic constituencies within our membership. So we have a large student population, we have a large LGBTQ population, we have caucuses representing minority groups. So we're both kind of different and special, but at the same time, we're also Americans just like anybody else, proud to vote. So how Democrats abroad thinks? Well, there's millions of us, so we think quite differently between us. But I think as a group of people, we're a really unusual group of voters because, as I said, we do have that global perspective. We do have that kind of direct experience of Americans' relationship in the world. I would also say that Democrats abroad often take people by surprise from an electoral point of view, because bear in mind, to the pollsters back home and the media back home, we're not showing up in polls. Our votes all come in as absentee ballots, so quite often we're among the last votes to be counted, and we do wind up tipping the balance in a lot of close elections. So we're a little bit of an unsung hero of the electoral vote, and that's why getting out those overseas votes make a huge amount of difference.
That's really interesting. And you talk about younger people, students, worldly. Does that mean that the issue in the Middle East, we've seen that cohort of people feel very strongly about it, and also it be a bit of a point of division? I know you're all about unity this week, aren't you, Karen? But there's been a point of division within the Democrats, within the left of American politics, about how to approach that issue.
Sure. I mean, I can't speak about foreign policy directly, but obviously across the party, there's a range of views. Everybody's views have a right to be heard. But what's been remarkable to me is the kind of the thoughtfulness and the consideration with which certainly Democrats abroad have been having these kinds of debates amongst ourselves as a party, thinking about what policies make sense. And what you've seen in Chicago as well has been, as I say, an extraordinary amount of unity. Now, there are difficult questions ahead. Certainly, the kind of global landscape, not just in Israel, Palestine, but with Russia and Ukraine, is challenging. There are some really tough decisions to make, but I think we all are really confident, whatever our divisions may be, we are all united with one voice that Donald Trump is not the right person to make those decisions.
Okay. We don't know who or if there will be many celebrities at the convention this week. Can you give us any insight, Karen? Are you expecting a celebrity endorsement like whiskey for Beyonce?
Well, I heard that we bumped James Taylor from the program last night because we ran long. So,
Yeah.
poor James Taylor, I would have liked to have heard him perform. I have heard rumors that there is going to be a big name celebrity performing on the night that Kamala Harris speaks, possibly even immediately after her speech. So that to me sounds like we are talking about a premium performer, but I don't have any more inside information than that. Just a watch out to keep your eyes peeled.
Okay. What's that Thursday? Okay, that's interesting. Just looking at Taylor Swift's tour dates, because I know she's in London at the moment. She performs she's back in America at the end of the week. She's in Miami on Friday. That'd give her plenty of time, wouldn't it? She could easily be in Chicago on Thursday night, couldn't she? And then in Miami on Friday night. All right, watch this space. Karen, thank you for your time tonight. Really appreciate it. Karen Robinson, who is a former vice chair of the Democrats abroad. Also, Julia Manchester, whose line we lost, unfortunately, but lovely having Julia with us. We'll catch up with her again, I think, later in the week.